The senator from New Jersey.
Madam President, first let me thank the Majority Leader for his doggedness in making sure that we could come to an agreement that sends a clear message to Iran before the P5+1 talks take place this week. His commitment made a difference. And let me thank the chairman of the Banking Committee, Senator Johnson, who, in an agenda that is incredibly full with all of the challenges that the Banking Committee is taking up, made sure that the whole effort on Iran sanctions had a priority in the committee and worked to get the strong, bipartisan, unanimous vote that came out of the committee that gives us the foundation to move forward today. So I want to thank both of them. And I think, Madam President, today the Senate sends a clear message to Iran as it prepares for the P5+1 talks in Baghdad. And basically that message is provide a real and verifiable plan for completely dismantling your nuclear weapons program, or Washington will further tighten the economic noose. The Obama administration is moving forward full implementation of the Menendez-Kirk central bank sanctions, and the U.S. Congress is ready with additional measures, such as sanctions on the national Iranian oil company and an Iranian energy joint ventures that will further isolate the regime. I think Iran's supreme leader has a choice. Either come to Baghdad with a real plan to terminate Iran's nuclear program, or we'll make our own plan through sanctions and other necessary measures to ensure that Iran fails to achieve its nuclear ambitions. And lest anyone think that this is necessary, Madam President, as negotiators head to Baghdad this week for the P5+1 talks, this bill is another tool that will demonstrate to Iran that the U.S. is not backing down and that buying time, just thinking that you can go and talk without substantive, meaningful concessions here, is just not going to work. And in case anyone has doubts as to the need for this legislation, the record is pretty clear. In recent weeks, the International Atomic Energy Administration has been subject to Iranian delays and deception over access to the Partin facility, a facility they claim has no connection to their nuclear program, but which scientists believe may contain a blast chamber used to test explosives that can trigger a nuclear blast. Combine that information with Iran's continued enrichment of uranium to 20%, development of new enrichment facilities, conducting of high explosives testing and detonator development to set off a nuclear charge, computer modeling of a core of a nuclear warhead, and the August 2011 IAEA inspection that revealed 43.5 pounds of a component used to arm nuclear warheads was unaccounted for in Iran, and that Iran is working on an indigenous design for a nuclear payload small enough to fit on Iran's long-range Shahab-3 missile, a missile capable of reaching Israel and also capable of reaching some of our allies in Europe, which we are committed to under NATO to defend. And you have a pretty clear picture of why this is in the national interest and security of the United States and what's going on in Iran. The bill is intended to give Iran a pretty clear picture in return of what America's response to their posture would be. This includes sanctions on the national Iranian oil and tanker companies to terminate a workaround to the central bank sanctions. Sanctions on satellite companies that provide satellite services to the Iranian regime but fail to prevent jamming by Iran of transmissions by other users of the same satellite service company. Sanctions on financial messaging service companies that provide services to sanctioned Iranian financial institutions. Imposition of liability on parent companies for actions of their foreign subsidiaries, and sanctions on energy joint ventures with Iran related to the development of petroleum resources. And those are just some. So this is perfecting legislation to SASADA and I'm so thrilled we're seeing it today. Finally, I'd like to also comment on one particular section of the bill to ensure that there's no ambiguity about its intent. Section 503, as revised in the manager's amendment, preempts any conflicting federal or state law, but only as they pertain to the eligibility for attachment and execution of certain block assets of the state of Iran identified in the section, for judgments against Iran for the execution of terrorist acts, including the Marine Corps barracks bombing in Lebanon in 1983, which killed 241 U.S. servicemen, and the Khobar Towers bombing in Saudi Arabia in 1996, which killed 19 U.S. servicemen. Nothing in this legislation alters any other applicable law. And as someone who authored these provisions, I just wanted to be sure that there was understanding on the record. Iran should, in addition to stopping its nuclear weapons program, which is in the national interest and security of the United States, should not be able to avoid having its assets attached and pursued and executed upon as they kill Americans, have been part of killing Americans abroad. With that, Madam President, I yield the floor.